It's probably going to seem like I'm really flying through these quiz questions, but I went through a lot of these in class today. So first of all, for number 2, they wanted the area of the sector. They gave you that information that's written in black. You go to your formula sheet. You take the area of a sector formula off of there. The only thing you have to be careful of, it's even labeled area of a sector. The only thing you have to be careful of is making sure theta is in radians, which it is. So I rewrote the formula. I plugged in the radians. I plugged in R. I rewrote it as 1/2 times 3 pi over 4 times 16, because that's 4 squared over 1. You didn't have a calculator here, so you would have to simplify this. So we have 4, which goes into 16, 4 times, 2, which goes into 4 twice. And so when you multiply across, you have 6 pi. When you multiply across the bottom, you have 1, so you don't have to write that. It's area, so feet squared. Down here, you were given these 2 pieces of information. This is telling you that the x value is negative. Over here, this is telling you that y divided by x is positive. Well, since you were already told here that the x value is negative, then in order to take y and divide it by a negative value and get something positive, y also has to be negative. So since both of these have to be negative, you're right here in quadrant 3. Down here, you're told 1 over y is positive. A positive 1 divided by something to get positive means your y has to be positive. Here you're told 1 over x is negative. In order to get 1 positive divided by something and get negative, this has to be negative. So your x value is negative and your y value is positive. That's right there in quadrant 2. Here we have to go get the ordered pair for pi over 6. So there's the ordered pair for pi over 6, the square root of 3 over 2. Then we have to think about what quadrant this is in. 5 pi over 6 is in quadrant 2, which makes the x value negative and the y value positive. Then we come to this formula. The formula for cotangent is x divided by y. So we're going to take the x value, divide it by the y value. I think I actually did this one in class. That cancels, and you get negative square root of 3. For the bonus, you're given this information, so you can immediately copy this down here. You can also go over here and reciprocalize that, so you have 2 of your answers. You cannot say, as I said in class, again, I went through this one in class, you cannot say that since sine divided by cosine is tangent, I'm going to put this over 1 and assume this is 4 and this is 1. You can't do that. You had to use one of your other identities here. So I decided to use this one. Secant squared equals 1 plus tangent squared. So I plug in negative 4 and square it. 4 squared is 16. So we have secant squared equals 17. Take the square root, plus or minus the square root of 17. They told us we were in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 means the x value is negative and the y value is positive. Secant is related to cosine, which is the x value, so it's going to be negative square root of 17. To go back this way, I'm going to flip-flop that, so it's going to become 1 over negative square root of 17. I have to rationalize that denominator by multiplying by the square root of 17 over the square root of 17. So we get negative square roots of 17 over 17. And then I have to go through the whole same process now to get cotangent to cosecant. There's the cotangent to cosecant formula. So we have cosecant squared t equals 1 plus cotangent squared t. Cotangent squared t is 1/4 negative. When we square a fraction, we square the numerator and denominator separately, so we end up with 1/16. When we add 1 plus 1/16, we put the 1 over 1, we get a common denominator, which is 16. So we have 16 over 16 over plus 1 over 16. Take the square root. So we get plus or minus the square root of 17 over 4. Just got to take the square root of the top and the square root of the bottom separately. We already determined that y was positive. Cosecant is a y value. So we have positive square root of 17 over 4. To go back in this direction, we flip-flop it, and we get 4 square roots of 17 over 17.